Welcome back to the SkoodSports Show on a Thursday in May. I'm John Scoodrus here for SkoodSports, ready to bring you all the sports that fit in to one video. What a night we had in the sporting world last night on Wednesday. The Philadelphia Phillies defeating the Atlanta Braves 4-0 to move within half a game of first place, but more importantly, take the series against Atlanta for the first time this year. But we begin today with the NBA and the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5 in Boston on Wednesday. That went, well, about as predictably as you could have imagined.
Well, who are you drafting instead?
Both of those guys are dynamic. I'd be happy with either one of them going one. Jaylen Brown from
Love against Morris. LeBron James sitting right now. Jeff Green is in. Kevin Love backs it home. Brown steps back. Little fake. Fires. That's good. Three-pointer. Korver guarding Rozier. Rozier pull-up shot in the paint. Baines tip is good.
So Aaron Baines and company continue to roll it home as the Boston Celtics triumph over the Cleveland Cavaliers to take a 3-2 series lead. And really, this game again comes down to the depth pieces and the fact that the Boston Celtics just have more of it. Cleveland has had such a tough time with their depth. You look at guys like Jeff Green, guys like J.R. Smith, they shouldn't even be in the playoffs in a rotation, let alone playing alongside the best player in the world. In this game, LeBron had 26 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, another solid day for LeBron. But it's clear the fatigue is starting to wear in. He played almost 40 minutes again. He's had 7 40-point games in this postseason, which is an NBA record. But he just did not get any help. The closest help in points he got was Kevin Love with 14. Jeff Green, good grief. He played 26 minutes. He had 8 points and 5 rebounds. J.R. Smith, 2 points in 26 minutes, 0 for 4 from beyond the arc. J.R., you stink. Stop shooting the ball. So the series now moves back to Cleveland for Game 6. And so it'll be interesting to see whether or not the home teams continue to win. Boston is now 10-0 at home in the postseason this year. However, they have struggled on the road. So we'll see if the Celtics can pull off a surprising road victory and advance to the NBA Finals, or if King James will hold off for one more and set up a decisive Game 7 from the TD Garden on Sunday. Also last night, we had Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals exercising their demons. Finally, they are headed to the Stanley Cup Final. The first time in 20 years that the Caps are advancing to the NHL's championship round, where they will meet up with the expansion Vegas Golden Knights. This is such an incredible series that no one could have predicted at the beginning of the year. When you look at it, you have really David versus Goliath, but they are such unconventional teams in that regard, because if you want to say David is the Vegas Golden Knights, of course, they're an expansion team in their first year in the league. No team has ever done that in the history of American professional sports, so they have a chance to win the championship with a cast of cast-offs, literally players that people didn't want. And then you have the Washington Capitals, who nobody believed in. Everybody thought had reached their max when they faced the Pittsburgh Penguins in the second round, having never advanced past the second round under Alex Ovechkin since he came to the team in 05-06. And now here you have the Washington Capitals exercising their demons, coming back from down 3-2 in the series to their division rivals, the Lightning, and advancing behind Ovechkin and Braden Holtby, another player who, as a young goalie, got a lot of criticism over the last few years for not being able to lead Washington out of the second round. He was actually benched to begin the postseason in favor of Philip Grubauer, but when Grubauer struggled in the first couple of games against the Blue Jackets, remember, Washington lost the first 2 games at home of that series after having the best record in the Eastern Conference, and then they came back to win the series. And then they won the series in Pittsburgh as well as against Tampa. So this is a Washington team that is battle-tested. They've got players that have faced adversity, that have playoff experience. I'm going to have a full preview of the Stanley Cup Final later on this week, but I will just say right now, I have a hard time picking against the Washington Capitals. Of course, I should say I have a hard time picking against the Vegas Knights, considering all that they have overcome this year. But we'll have more on that later on this week here on Skood Sports. Speaking of things finally happening after years of expectations, I think most Philadelphia Phillies fans would agree that 2018 has been a pleasant surprise. The Phillies, coming into the year, were predicted by many to finish maybe a little bit below 500, perhaps contend for 500 at 81-81 if they got lucky. Well, things have certainly changed in that regard. Last night, the Phillies defeated the Atlanta Braves 4-0 at Citizens Bank Park to improve to 28-19. With the win, the Phils moved within half a game of Atlanta for first place in National League East. It feels so much like my childhood and teenage years again when the Phillies are chasing the Braves for a division championship. Of course, keep in mind the NL East does have 4 teams in within reach of first place. The Braves, the Phillies, the Nationals, and the Mets. Though with the case of the Mets, they may have been better off chasing first place back in 2012 with acquisitions like Jose Bautista a couple days ago to go with their current crop of aging talent outside of a couple of solid pitchers and infielders. But when you look at this matchup last night, it's all about the right arm of the big free agent acquisition. Jake Arrieta, who has been outstanding for the Fightin' Phils this year since being signed to a multi-year contract from the Chicago Cubs. A former NL Cy Young Award winner, Arrieta went 6 2/3. He struck out 7. He walked just 1 and gave up 7 hits, did not allow a single run. He improves to 4-2 with a 2.45 ERA. The loss last night went to Gahara for Atlanta, gave up 2 runs on 4 hits over 4 innings. Offensively for the Phillies, Carlos Santana, Cesar Hernandez, Michael Franco, and Nick Williams all had RBI as the Phillies improved to 28-19. The Phillies will not play the Braves again until September 20th, and so keep in mind that there's a lot of time between the next matchup and this one, so the Phillies desperately wanted to get a series win against the Braves under their belt before they move on to the rest of this summer schedule. But the Fightin' Phils get the win. And all I can think about when I take a look at this win for the Phillies is, well, not all I can think about. One of the key things I think about is that the Chicago Cubs, Theo Epstein, what were you thinking, man? Chicago decides to let Arrieta walk. They didn't want to pay him the money after he was so brilliant for them after they acquired him from the Orioles after his early career troubles years back. And now they're feeling the burn because the Cubs right now, they're above 500 at 25-21, but they're 4 games back of first place Milwaukee. And they have 4 teams, they're 4th place. They have 3 teams in front of them. So that's not going to be an easy race back, especially when the Cubs have had some real pitching troubles here in 2018. Tyler Chatwood, who was brought over from the Colorado Rockies in order to help replace Arrieta, has not worked out. Now, granted, he's pitched better of late, has Chatwood. However, in his last start, he gave up 4 hits and 4 earned runs in 2 2/3 innings to Cleveland in a Chicago Cubs loss. John Lester's been excellent. He's 4-2 with a 2.37. Kyle Hendricks is 3-3 with a 3.40, and Jose Quintana 5-3, but with a 4.47. Yu Darvish, meanwhile, was their big offseason acquisition. In 8 starts, he's 1-3 with a 4.95. Of course, that's a little bit better from the way he started the season so poorly, but they're expecting a lot more out of Yu Darvish if they're going to contend for not only a division crown, but for a league championship here in 2018. So if you're Theo Epstein, you almost have to be looking at that and wondering, ooh, did I make the wrong decision signing Darvish to what I believe was a 5 or 6 year contract and letting Jake Arrieta walk over 3 years? I think that the Cubs would have been much better off keeping the guy they know, the devil they know, than the devil they don't, which is Darvish, as he has certainly not lived up to the expectations so far. Meanwhile, for the Phillies, they are able to do this and get 9 games above 500, all without a lot of key things happening. That being, number 1, Carlos Santana hitting. The Phillies' big free agent acquisition on offense is now above the Mendoza line for the first time this year. He's hitting .202 with 8 homers and 30 RBI. You love the home run numbers, you love the run production, but you gotta see that average come up. It has come up about 25 points now over the last couple of weeks, so he's certainly starting to rake a little more as he leads the team in runs batted in. Odubel Herrera continues to hit, but they are not getting a lot of production from their young corner outfield combo. Nick Williams is hitting just .231 with a .596 OPS. Likewise for Aaron Altair, a disappointing year so far, just a 198 average despite 5 bombs and 23 driven in. He and the Phillies are going to have to figure it out on the corner outfield, or they may have to go out and acquire a piece at the deadline if they need to get an offensive influx. Likewise for Rhys Hoskins, hitting just .239, but he does have an .803 OPS. A lot of these Phillies batting averages are lower than I think they'll end up at the end of the year, which, if the pitching can still hold up, could mean good things for the Fightin' Phils come the end of the summer. Meanwhile, their pitching staff has been a real pleasant surprise. We've already mentioned Nick Pivetta and Jake Arrieta and Aaron Nola in the SkoodSports Show. But when you take a look at their bullpen, it has been hot and cold. Hector Neris was their closer. He's really struggled. And now young Seranthony Dominguez has stepped in as the team's closer. Dominguez now has 1 save in 8 appearances. He's got 5 holds in 9 innings. He's allowed just 1 hit and struck out 9, not walking a single man. He is off to an outstanding start to his career. I have no doubt that there are going to be some bumpy rides along the way for Dominguez, but you can't get much better out of the back end of the bullpen than he has been through his first handful of appearances in Major League Baseball. So the Fightin' Phils head off to take on the Toronto Blue Jays this weekend, as the Fightins and the Blue Jays begin a 3-game set from Citizens Bank Park on Friday before the Phillies head west for a long road trip to head into June against the Dodgers, Giants, and Cubs. But they'll begin first with a matchup against a struggling Blue Jays team, so the Phillies should be able to take that series as well as they move towards June with their eyes on first place. As always, want to thank you for tuning in to the SkoodSports Show here on Skood Sports. I'm John Skoudras. Until next time, good night and good luck. We'll see you right here on Skood Sports.